I think we're getting more clarity on what the plan is here from DOGE and from the Trump administration. And just to back up before I show you this memo that has been now revealed by a couple of different news outlets about the plan with regard to Social Security. Elon has been targeting Social Security for a long time. He went on Joe Rogan's podcast, called it a Ponzi scheme. He's retweeted Mike Lee, who's a libertarian, who calls it a Ponzi scheme and a fraud, et cetera. Trump has long positioned himself as an anti-austerity Republican, basically didn't care about the debt and the deficit until this term, and has always said, I will not cut Social Security and Medicare. He really distinguished himself from the Republican pack by making those particular pledges. However, in his State of the Union address, he echoed some of these same fraudulent claims made by Elon Musk and the Doge people, claiming that there were all these people who were dead, who were receiving Social Security benefits, and painting a picture of widespread fraud within the Social Security system that is just not true. So that was very troubling, because it seemed that he was joining in with Elon in laying the groundwork to cut Social Security, whilst claiming they were just cutting the fraud from Social Security. So now we have, like I said, some more clarity from this memo that was leaked from inside the Social Security Administration that reveals what they're planning to do. We can put this up on the screen. Axios obtained a draft of this memo. It was signed by the acting Deputy Social Security Commissioner for Operations, someone named Doris Diaz, on March 13th, and it was written on behalf of the agency's Operations Department. This was first reported by Popular Info. I'll show you some more details from them in a moment. That's Judd Legum's outlet, but Axios here confirming the reporting. And they say that this memo was sent one day after the agency had denied a report that they were scrapping their toll-free phone line. Well, so they denied that. And now in this memo, they say that they are actually moving forward with getting rid of most phone service for Social Security beneficiaries. Now, why does this matter? As I was reading through this, apparently what happens frequently is people have to go through a process either online or currently by the phone to verify their identity. Okay, that seems like a good thing. A lot of old people, and a lot of people remember Social Security is for people who have disability as well. A lot of people struggle with that online process. And according to some people who are at the Social Security Administration, for some people, the online process just literally doesn't work for whatever unique circumstances they have going on. And so then they either have to go to a Social Security field office to resolve those problems, or more commonly, to call the toll-free Social Security line and get help over the phone and verify their identity that way. So that is what they're planning to get rid of. This comes at a time also when they're cutting the funds for the Social Security field offices. So that avenue is also becoming less available. So officials are really sounding the alarms. You had one person who said these proposed changes are a way they're trying to use red tape to literally block people from getting benefits. Another one said the money that it would cost to implement these changes would dwarf any savings that would come from cracking down on quote-unquote identity fraud. They also said that the proposed limitations would be really a problem in particular for people who live in rural areas who may have either no internet or poor internet access, and for whom the field office is far away and difficult to access. We can put the E1 slideshow back up on the screen here so we can go through some of the details that were revealed by Judd Legum as well. So he says exclusive internal Social Security Administration memo lays out a plan to sabotage the agency, predicts service disruption, operational strain, and budget shortfalls that will result. Let's go ahead and put the next piece up on the screen here, revealing additional details. He says under the new system, this would force these populations to visit an office to have their claim processed. The memo estimates it would require 75,000 to 85,000 in-person visitors per week to SSA's offices to implement the policy. They do not have the resources to handle an influx. These concerns are raised in this memo. I think we have one more piece of this that we can share with you as well. A source said there are no significant concerns about fraud at intake because multiple layers of ID verification takes place before a claim is approved. The source said they believe the new steps are an effort to create additional hurdles to filing claims and, quote, overwhelm the system. So to back up and take this all in, okay, this change is not going to save any money, because implementing it is going to, the program currently, like the way it's administered in the phone system, it's not that expensive. Making these changes is actually going to cost money. So you're not saving any money. You're just making it more difficult for people who are entitled to the benefits to be able to access the benefits. So does it matter that Social Security exists and it hasn't been officially, quote unquote, cut if more and more and more people are unable to get access to the benefits? And so that seems to be the plan here, is basically to hobble the system and strangle it with red tape and with cuts, so that it is more and more difficult for people to actually get the benefits that they are entitled to.
What's so dumb about it is they're not wrong that the ID.me, verification is incredibly difficult to use and is not a very good system. So why wouldn't you, when you phase it out, implement a new system? That seems like rolling something out that makes something easier is exactly the way that you would want to show efficiency and access to service. And instead, what basically, from what I have seen, and I looked as much as I could into this, is that it basically is trying to reduce the amount of phone reliance while at the same time, as you said, increasing foot traffic to these offices. Now, our debate notwithstanding on whether we're coddling old people too much and all of that, you're not wrong that they are entitled to this money and they did pay into it. It is the right of every American citizen. So I guess, we have to provide customer service in any way, shape, or form. But the promise originally was to create a new system which would make it more accessible. They've recently come out and said that they're cleaning the data or whatever to reflect that 120-year-olds, et cetera, are not getting it. I mean, that's one of those where I'm like, okay, thanks. Like, I didn't know that was a huge problem in my life and in the government.
Right.
Because there wasn't a
it wasn't
lot of evidence that there was a lot of money
yeah.
that was going out. And so, like, I'm not saying that the U.S. government is not archaic, doesn't use its stupid systems, doesn't need database, et cetera. But, I mean, I'm not a political genius. I would just say screwing with old people's money or making it more difficult to get with them just seems like a bad idea, just in general.
Yeah.
In fact, what you would want to do, this would be a very easy way for Doge to become much more popular, would be to roll out or implement something that makes it way easier to get access to your Social Security.
Yeah.
I will say, though, it's not that freaking hard. I actually I myself, I don't know if you've ever done this, I once logged into my Social Security account and I'm like, I wonder how much money I'm gonna have, whenever I'm old, just inflation adjusted. It's not that difficult to set up. So I will say that. That's my last swipe at the elderly folks. Just ask somebody and you can figure it out.
Well,
that's all I'm gonna say.
I won't debate you on this, but I will say that the experts indicate that for some people, this online system just doesn't work. So you're right, though.
Yeah.
If in the idealized hypothetical version of Doge, in which they're actually interested in efficiency and not just like an ideological project to consolidate power for Elon Musk and his billionaire buddies, in the hypothetical version of Doge, they would look at that and say, well, we got to fix that. Right? Everybody should be able to get access to Social Security online. It should be straightforward and easy. And then that eases the burdens on the field offices. And then maybe we can cut the fat and trim some of these field offices because they're just not needed as much. Maybe we can trim the phone lines after we get a new system that allows people to enroll in this way that's like super easy. But of course, you want to maintain the phone lines, at least to some extent, so that some people who struggle or don't have internet access or whatever can get access. But that's not what we're talking about here. I mean, it just becomes very plain that there's an ideological vendetta against Social Security. They realize it's a political problem to say we're cutting Social Security. And so instead, they're making it impossible for some people to be able to access it. And then with regard to the cleaning the data, we may have some potential fallout from that cleaning of the data where some people are getting kicked off who are rightful beneficiaries. We can put this up on the screen. There have been 2 news reports thus far. You've got one person who was marked dead, but is very much alive. You can see him pictured here. It was hell on earth for him to be able to, this one is extraordinary because they actually went into his account and clawed back some $5,000 that he had rightfully received through Social Security because they marked him dead, perhaps as part of this quote-unquote data cleaning. They're actually, revoking some people who are rightful beneficiaries. He tried calling the phone lines. There were hours upon hours waits because they are flooded and they have cut back on staff, so they're understaffed. They're flooded with calls right now, probably from other people who've been marked dead and whatever. Goes to the field office. The line is out the door. Hours of wait there before he can finally talk to someone and figure it out and get it fixed. But even then, he still has these like lingering effects, because once the government marks you as dead, it creates all sorts of problems. Your bank assumes you're dead, your credit card issuers assume you're dead, like all sorts of problems that he's now gonna have to deal with. The other one, just put it back up on the screen there for one more second. The other one, the benefits weren't clawed out of his account, but normally his Medicare payment comes directly out of his Social Security check. So he gets a notice, this is a man who lives in Oklahoma City, gets a notice from Medicare of like, oh, you know, we're not getting your payment. So he's like, okay, well, what's going on here? So he goes and looks and finds that he is also been kicked off of Social Security, is not getting the benefits that he is entitled to receive. He thinks it's because he was actually born, his dad served in the military, he was born overseas on a military base in Germany. Now, that, of course, he's still an American citizen, like being born on an American military base means you were born in America, etc. But he thinks that's what caused him to be marked as, you know, probably like a fraudulent beneficiary or whatever, because some idiot saw that he was born in Germany and just assumed that meant that he wasn't entitled to these benefits. That's his theory of what's going on here. But if you start to see more and more of these rightful beneficiaries just getting kicked off, these two individuals were lucky that they were financially secure enough that this was not their entire income. But given the time it took to resolve and the fact that those $5,000 were clawed out of the account, like if this was someone who this was their sole source of income and they were entirely dependent on, this would have caused a massive, massive financial disaster for an elderly person for no reason. So those are some of the things that are starting to happen here. You know, to get to the political fallout, this looks to be one of the biggest pain points and fears and concerns that has been incited by the Trump administration overall and Doge in particular. Could put this up on the screen. This was the line at a town hall for Chuck Edwards, Republican congressperson in Asheville, North Carolina. This person says there were 1,770 people lined up for this town hall. The space holds around 400. There were some extraordinary images and outraged constituents who were filmed at that town hall. I think that's the one where a veteran was, you know, yelling at him and got escorted out, et cetera. But the very first question, we put the next tear sheet up on the screen, the very first question at that town hall had to do with Social Security benefits. The first questioner said, would he ensure the protection of our Social Security benefits? And apparently the room erupted in applause. They also, Huffington Post tracks another town hall with a Michigan Republican, where some of the 13 questions that this representative took, 9 were related to Social Security. In a nearby mid-Michigan district, they say that was among the most competitive U.S. House races last year. A poll taken at the beginning of first-term GOP Rep Tom Barrett's telephone town hall showed Social Security and Medicare as the top issue for attendees. So this is a major political fault line. And they are trying to use backdoor methods to cut this program without coming out and saying we are cutting the program. But people are wising up to what is going on here.
I mean, Asheville is a very liberal area, but still, I mean, it's one of those where
they've got a Republican congressman. They can't be that liberal.
I think it's one of those very gerrymandered districts, if I recall. But anyway, look, you don't want it no matter where you are. If people are liberal, whether they're Republican, if they're old, you don't want to be hearing this. And they're, you know, aside from the Israel lobby, the only other lobby that you don't ever want to mess with in Washington is what? AARP. And I can guarantee you that if you start coming and stories like that start to go viral on Boomer Facebook, you're going to have yourself a real problem on your hands. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.